We're going to go in 3, 2, 1. Hey, everybody, thank you for tuning in to episode number 69. Is that 69? 59? Is it 59 or 69?
It's not
59 of Teddybears and Tentacles podcast. I'm your host, Quinn, and I have with me today Skinny Rick. What up?
What's up? My hair's still cut.
Yeah, still cut.
Yeah.
No mullet.
On that.
How's it been going, dude? You been doing all right?
Yeah, I started school back this last week. I have 7 hours of class on Tuesdays.
Yeah.
Which is, when you think about it, it's like, yeah, everyone, like, when they go to school, like, they sit through a whole day of, but, like, when you're an adult,
Yeah.
7 hours is,
You got a job and stuff.
Yeah. So what I have is I have 2 classes that day, and one of them's 2 hours ish. I say 7. It's not 7 straight hours, right? So we get breaks. So it's from, I guess it would be close to 6 because it would be from like 3:30 till 10. But it's 2 classes, so there's a 30-minute break between classes, and if I get out early. But still, it's like,
it's a lot.
It's a lot to be happening.
Well, that's college, dude.
Yep.
Welcome to college. I haven't really been doing anything this last week. Of course, we have something that we need to address. But other than just the normal stuff, I've been playing some Magic and just chilling, dude. I guess we will quickly address the situation at the Capitol building. And I guess all I'll really say is that, you know, for me, I try to remain a moderate through this whole thing, not really Republican or Democrat. I'm, you know, a registered Democrat, but yeah, I don't condone violence or rioting in any sort. And, you know, my personal opinion on it is that they weren't going to accomplish what they thought they were going to with it. And I'm just not into it, man. I'm not into the way that some people have responded to just stuff that Donald Trump says and does, regardless of if it's his fault or not. I'm over it, man. I'm over it. So
yeah, I mean, I think what happened was a big mistake, and I think that the not just the Republican Party, but really just the people who like were trying to show support for like the whole reason that the people were out there was either to support Trump or to show that people care that we stick with the process, and the fact that they went into the building just defeats the purpose of them being there. Like, if you're there to represent democracy, then storming in and standing in the way of democracy is counterproductive. So I think that a lot of people really made fools out of themselves.
Yeah. I
think that it's done a terrible thing for the Republican Party, and I think that they've sort of really just made a fool out of themselves. That, you know, in the sense of like they didn't take the high road, I guess is what I'm saying. You know? They've been the same people who are out there, the same people who have been complaining about the protests and riots throughout this year, and then they just show up and do the same thing. So it's counterproductive, and it really takes away a lot of the weight that their views might have. Yeah.
Well, you know, what we're going to have to figure out how to do as a country is come together through all this stuff and move forward. I mean, some of the backlash on the other end of it, the banning of Parler from Apple and Google platforms, you know, it just, you know, steps over the line of what freedom of speech represents. And, you know, a lot of people have the argument that these are privatized companies, but nonetheless, taking an entire social media platform off just based on whether it's true or not, based on what they're saying.
That's so funny to
that
me
the
that
thing was organized on it. It's bizarre.
It's just nonsense to me that they took Parler down before Reddit or 4chan. You get what I'm saying?
Sure.
Like the standards that they've set for a thing to be removed, it's like we should have taken these other ones. Like we should be getting rid of other stuff first if that's what we're gonna do.
Well, it's I was talking to somebody this morning about it. It's a difficult line that I don't think that some people really understand whenever they are think they're being patriotic and are just like, you have to be able to say whatever you want to say. And it's like, well, go to like politically incorrect on 4chan and like see what it is whenever you have no terms of agreement.
Yeah.
Like whatever. That's not where you want your kids to be raised either.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a harder discussion than, all of this stuff is a harder discussion than just me or you or two civilians having the conversation on their own. Whenever we're talking about voter fraud, it's so much deeper than just some people bringing out some suitcases from under a table. It's, the law processes behind all that stuff. I mean, it's just so much. And for the entire nation to be divided on these subjects based on really how the media has chosen to cover it or what society has deemed acceptable and the right side to be on is, it's going to end up damaging our country if we don't figure out how to get this thing in check. So my hope is that people will wake up in this and say, hey, the Democrat Party is just not really where I want to be. Neither is the Republican Party, and maybe we can have some independent people who are actually capable of running this country.
Be cool.
Come forward in the future and be
cool
given the
if we were
opportunity
united,
to do it.
Yep.
Well, on the path that we're on, we're going to be ununited, here shortly. So I guess that's it about that. Neither of us care about white supremacy. We denounce it, all that stuff. Whatever you want us to say, we're not going to say all that stuff, but we'll say, that
we
and
start
that
a Patreon.
Violence in any form is just, it's not good. So another thing happened in the news. I have not taken the time to learn about this specifically, but it did spark what this episode today is going to be about.
This is a different one than the one I sent you, isn't it?
What do you mean?
I sent you an article about a plane going down. This is a different plane.
I don't think so.
Is it the same plane?
I'm pretty sure.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm pretty positive. Anyway, a plane went missing in Indonesia, and it reminded me of Malaysian Flight MH370 from years ago that went completely missing. I dug so deep into that and was so interested in it whenever it was happening. I can't believe that we, hadn't done an episode on it yet. So I figured that's what we would do it on today. And with that, we'll learn about some other just crazy plane kind of stuff. But we'll just, skim over briefly the Indonesia thing. I believe that this plane has crashed and they, or at least under some type of investigation. So let's see.
You want me to take?
Man, I don't even know how to get close to saying that, but there's a Indonesian airline. It disappeared from radar. Sriwijaya. I don't know, man.
Dude, it's like not even close to something I know how to say.
So it disappeared from radar 4 minutes into his journey to Pontianak in West Kalimantan province. It is thought to have dropped more than 3,000 meters, which is 10,000 feet, in less than a minute, according to flight tracking website flightradar24.com. Probably not the most reliable website on the planet, but whatever. Witnesses said that they had seen and heard at least one explosion. Fisherman
This is
Solihin,
the same one.
who goes by one name, told the BBC Indonesian services he had witnessed a crash and his captain decided to turn to land. The plane fell like lightning into the sea and exploded into the water. So,
Yeah, dude, that's one of those. I mean, remember when that? What was it? What? It wasn't. It was not U.S. military, but it was at one of our military.
here
bases.
recently?
Yeah, remember?
It was a few years ago.
What was that? Like, what country did that plane belong to? I don't remember.
I don't know.
It took off from our. Did it take off from? Does Hunter have it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hunter is the. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Can we say that? Do I have to bleep that out?
No.
Okay, cool. So they were under investigation
Yeah.
by like investigators here, and the other country was like,
Yeah. Well, that
Yeah.
the video of that was wild, dude.
it is wild.
Real wild.
I know someone who was it, dude? There was someone we know that like is in our circles loosely, like we don't, but that was saying I was on my way to work and like they had the road closed down.
Yeah, I remember that. I don't know. I don't
They
remember
didn't
who
see
it
the
is, though.
plane
Yeah.
crash, but they
Yeah.
saw about probably 45 minutes,
Yeah.
an hour after it
Yeah.
happened. It was still. I mean that that fuel burns
Yeah.
like.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah.
Let's keep moving forward just because we're on a little bit of a time.
Crunch.
Yeah.
It's all
So the last contact with the plane, call sign SJY182, was made at 2:40 local time, according to the Transport Ministry. The usual flight
So they
time to is
they
90
have not
minutes.
found it yet. They've
Yeah.
just found remnants of it, so they wouldn't even have the black box, would they?
They, I believe that they do.
They do.
So it didn't send a distress signal. It says there were 50 passengers. Let's see here. Yeah. So Navy divers are confident that they will be able to retrieve the 2 flight recorders. Yeah. So
Dude,
this
that's
is
not a black box. That's orange.
yeah. I believe that they are. They have either found it or they're in the process of looking for it. But more on that story.
I mean,
to
that's
come. This is what happened to the
really-
air. Yeah.
That's the type of stuff that
I guess they really don't have definite answers quite yet.
I know that the article what I was reading, I don't think it was on BBC, but whenever I first saw this, but the way that they had like a little section that was like an interview with the fisherman who like reported it
Yeah.
that he heard an explosion or whatever, and I mean it sounds terrifying.
Yeah.
The way he describes it, it's like it was a stormy day, like raining. The
Yeah.
weather was bad. I heard an explosion. I didn't know what it was, and then next thing I know, there's like debris bumping up against my boat in the waves.
Yeah.
It's like you never see it, but you just see like
Yeah.
the shrapnel like from the
Yeah, it's
like
wild,
chunks
dude.
of metal and wires and like luggage just float down.
Yeah. Well, some of this stuff we'll learn about later, in my opinion, is even more terrifying than that.
yeah, we can go ahead and keep going with it. I do have a question, but I want to see what else we
Go
have
ahead.
prepared. This may answer it, so we can.
So we'll move into to Malaysian Airlines Flight 370. So this was back in 2014, and this is we'll just read some of this. This is from the Sun UK. So just 39 minutes into its journey on March 8th, 2014, from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing, the plane lost contact with Malaysian Airlines and crashed at an unknown location, killing all 239 people on board.
That was one of the larger flights.
Some people would say allegedly,
allegedly what?
killing 239 people.
They think there were
Dude,
survivors.
I dug so deep into this. We'll get into some of it in a minute.
Is this what Lost is based off of?
No, dude. This is way after
I'm
Lost.
just-
So
Still,
at 12:42 a.m. On March 8th, 2014, Malaysian Airlines Flight MH370 took off from Kuala Lumpur heading for Beijing. Passengers included Chinese calligraphers, a couple on their way home to their young sons after a long delayed honeymoon. Normal stuff they say. So 39 minutes after takeoff over the South China Sea, the position symbol of Flight 370 vanishes from the radar at the Kuala Lumpur Area Control Center. Data from Malaysian military radar shows the plane almost immediately turned southwest and back towards the Malay Peninsula. 2:22 a.m., almost an hour later, having crossed back over the peninsula and turned north towards the Bay of Bengal, the plane has its last contact with the military radar. Shortly after, satellite data shows the plane make what investigators say was its final major turn and head south into the Indian Ocean. 2:39 a.m., a ground to air traffic control phone call is made through the plane's satellite link, goes unanswered. 5:30 a.m., a search and rescue effort is launched. 7:24 a.m., Malaysian Airlines released a statement announcing that Flight 370 is missing. And, over the following weeks, just tons and tons of looking for this thing kind of happened. And there are so many theories that kind of go through this. I figured we would go through some of them, but they actually have a ton of them in this article itself. So one of them was Vladimir Putin. Some feared that the Russian president was involved in the hijacking of the plane. U.S. science writer Jeff Wise claimed Putin spoofed the plane's navigation data so it could fly unnoticed into Baikonur Cosmodrome so he could hurt the West.
Mm-hmm.
U.S. shootout. French ex-airline director Mark Duggan accused the U.S. military of shooting down the plane because they feared it had been hijacked. A book called Flight MH370, The Mystery, also suggested that it had been shot down accidentally by U.S.-Thai joint jet fighters during a military exercise and that the incident was covered up. Of course, suicide. This would be from the pilots in hiding. These are the ones that say that it could potentially have been remotely hijacked. And then cracks on the plane. Malaysian Airlines found a 15-inch crack in the fuselage of one of its planes days before MH370 disappeared. The Federal Aviation Administration insists it issued a final warning 2 days before the disappearance.
So it was already in poor condition.
Yeah.
See, where did it take off from again? What was the?
Kuala Lumpur,
I don't know
which is in Malaysia,
Okay.
flying to China.
I don't know. What's the well, I did it. What's the requirements to be considered airworthy? Is that an international standard? Because I know even some companies handle it differently, right? So like some companies won't fly planes longer than however much time. And I know that how many different types of like plane manufacturers are there right now? Is there?
I don't think there's very many. There's not that many.
Even the companies have different standards too, and they recommend you not use them after how many years. But I mean, that's the biggest thing. Is like, to me, the most likely, which makes it the most like terrible or like terrifying to me, is the idea that there was maintenance neglect and like proper safety was not followed. Like getting, for the company that was making the flight and for the people boarding, like that burden relies on like, oh, I'm trusting that these people did their job, that they've checked the plane.
Well,
now it getting shot down by military is at that. It's like any plane could get shot down. You don't,
Well, we're gonna see some more of this stuff in a minute. So, the next one is stowaway. An engineer claimed a mysterious 14th load was added. And this is supposed to be a 141st load, was added to the flight list after takeoff, sparking theories that there was a stowaway. Ghost plane. Aviation expert Christine Negroni has speculated that the plane's cabin suffered a sudden depressurization. She said if Captain Shah had been on a break at the time, co-pilot Abdul Hamid would have been the only person left alive for hours before the plane crashed. Speaking to the Star, she said the sudden lack of oxygen would have killed all passengers and crew within 15 minutes. However, Hamid was insulated from its worst effects. in the cockpit. She said a degree of oxygen deprivation for Hamid would explain why the plane made a series of such dramatic turns before disappearing. Then the pilot planned the incident. This is one of the ones that was investigated for a really long time because they found a really hardcore flight simulator in the guy's house that the hard drives have been recently erased from them. You know what I mean? So every simulation that he had been flying recently had been basically deleted. Australian Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull unexpectedly said that it was very likely that the captain planned this shocking event. He claimed the pilot wanted to create the world's greatest mystery. Ex-Australian Prime Minister Tony Abbott also claimed it was made crystal clear to him within a week of the infamous disappearance that the aircraft was almost certainly deliberately down by the pilot. Another theory claimed that he hijacked his own plane in protest of the jailing of then Malaysian opposition leader Anwar Ibrahim as a way to destabilize the corrupt government of Najib Razak. Another seemingly far-fetched idea was that the pilot had deliberately crashed the plane to cover his tracks as he had parachuted out of the plane so he could spend the rest of his life with a girlfriend who was waiting on a boat in the sea. And then North Korea took the plane, of course, and then there was a few other things that were happening.
Took the plane?
Yeah.
That's a...
Yeah.
Wait,
yeah, that's a theory.
I thought you meant that,
No.
I thought you meant what happened was whenever the towers, when 9/11 happened and we sold off some of the rubble to China.
Yeah.
I thought North Korea was we'll take we'll take the scraps.
And then you had some of the victims' mobile phones ringing. I can remember that. Basically, after it disappeared, people were calling their loved ones, and it wasn't sending straight to voicemail. It was ringing the phones were still on somewhere. Snowden revelations. One theory links the disappearance of the planes to Edward Snowden's revelations about the extent of U.S. surveillance in 2013. It involves the fact that on the board of the plane were 20 employees of a company called Freescale Semiconductor, which the Snowden's documents suggested could have helped National Security Agency to develop technologies used in surveillance. Discussing the theory, Reddit user Dark Spectre wrote, "This bunch of U.S. chip guys working for a global leader in embedded processing solutions, blah, blah, blah. Is it a disappearance or a coincidence?"
What a weird situation.
Yeah. And then crashed in the Cambodian jungle. Another one. And then CIA claims by ex-Malaysian PM. The ex-Malaysian Prime Minister was saying that potentially it was a CIA. So, and this is nowhere touching, some of the theories that I saw and heard, especially at the time. And I guess this, again, this was 7 years ago now. Do you remember this happening or no?
Not yes, but not really.
Yeah.
It was just oh no.
Yeah. It was, I don't know, dude.
That was 7 years ago?
Yeah.
So I was 11.
Yeah. No, you don't remember it hardly, yeah. So this was one of the theories that I found interesting, was that maybe it was hijacked by the U.S. government and brought to a secret Air Force base. It was either a secret one or abandoned one in the Maldives. There was actually a number of reports from the Maldives saying that there was a really low-flying passenger airliner there, and the theory was that it would potentially be used for terrorist attacks or something like that in the future. The problem with that theory is you have to also assume that whoever it is that is doing the hijacking killed 200-something people that are on board of that plane, which is...
Did you ever play Modern Warfare, the first one?
Yeah.
You remember that after the credits, there's that one extra mission where you're hijacking a plane from From who is it from? Who are you?
I can't remember.
You're like rescuing someone,
Yeah.
or something like that, or you're either rescuing them or you're capturing them. That I think I can't remember if you stow away on the plane or if you like board it somehow.
Yeah.
I don't remember I don't know how you would be able to board. Like it's not like a Mission Impossible. You know? Anyways, that's what I imagine with that idea. It's like it's just a bunch of like guys who don't exist.
Yeah. On
the plane, and they
just get it.
Yeah.
And then that's it. They just have it. And the people they either exist or they don't. And that's it. Well, all right, let's keep going because we got a lot to try and cover here. So, they looked around the Maldives, supposedly found nothing. So I found this article was interesting. Was there anything else? Okay, so there was, I found this interesting. This is on Express UK. So the White House did have some type of meeting where it did discuss whether the plane was landed at a U.S. military base or not. So let's see. The jet was missing. I'm trying to get through this article. There's so many ads. So there was claims that it was landed at a U.S. military base in Diego Garcia, which was a one that was set up during the Cold War for Soviet intelligence in the region, is what it says. No, thank you. This is what I wanted to see. So this was just speculation from a guy that basically says more or less an electrical fire is what it seemed like it probably was for him. So there are two types of fires. He says an electrical fire might not be as fast and furious, but there may or may not be incapacitating smoke. There is a possibility, given the timeline, that there was an overheat on one of the front landing gear tires. It blew on takeoff and started burning. So he says what he thinks happened is that the flight crew was overcome by smoke and the plane continued on heading, probably on autopilot until it ran out of fuel or a fire destroyed the control surfaces and it crashed. And he kind of has a route put up. We're not going to put this up on screen. But yeah, there's just a lot of theories with this thing. And supposedly I believe at one point
did they ever find the...
No, they have found what they claim to be some wreckage of it, but they still haven't found the plane.
So they never found the black box or anything.
No. This was an article that I had up too. I can remember whenever it happened. There supposedly was one U.S. Citizen on the plane, and his girlfriend was saying that she felt that he was still alive, and apparently some journalists more or less tracked her, throughout the story of the thing up to a year, and she had kind of turned very conspiracy theory about it and stuff like that. So I thought that was interesting, but. I wanted to look at two more cases before we kind of get out of here. And these were kind of interesting. These, honestly, maybe we could even do shoot-offs of these themselves, but I'd never heard of these. And so these were two other flights that in the process of looking at this
that you came across,
I found. And, of course, now... Let me see. Which one is this? This turned into a Helios Airways 525.
That's what that said. That one you were on.
Yeah. Okay. So, man, I don't want this type of article either. Why does it have to be like this? Man, this is so frustrating. Okay, so this is Helios Air ways, Flight 522 was a flight from Larnaca, Cyprus to Prague in the Czech Republic with a stopover to Athens, Greece. It crashed on 14th of August 2005 following loss of pressure that incapacitated the crew, killing all 121 passengers and the crew on board. The aircraft was let to fly on autopilot until it ran out of fuel and crashed near Grammatiko, Greece. It was the deadliest aviation accident in Greek history. So that's the answer to your question right here. I watched 2 videos this morning on these two, and they can't Mission Impossible
a plane.
No, they have to either shoot it down or let it crash. They can't get into a plane from another plane.
But I want us to be able to do that. And I only want us to be able to do that because, like, if you can do that, then you can do that practically for like a movie. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. So look at what this says. This is what sucks. So that morning, the aircraft arrived at London, and the previous flight crew had reported a frozen door seal and abnormal noises coming from the right aft service door. They requested a full inspection of the door. The inspection was carried out by a ground engineer who then performed a pressurization leak check. In order to carry out this check without requiring the aircraft's engines, the pressurization system was set to manual. However, the engineer failed to reset it to auto after completing the checking. And more or less what happened is neither of the pilots caught it either.
So the engineer just killed everyone.
Yeah. Forgot to set the cabin pressurization back to auto. So as they got higher,
everyone just blacked out.
The cabin pressure remained the same. Yeah. So as the aircraft climbed, the pressure in the cabin slowly decreased. As they passed 12,040 feet, the cabin altitude warning horn sounded. The warning was supposed to have prompted the crew to stop climbing, but the crew mistook it for a takeoff configuration warning, which signals the aircraft is not ready for takeoff and can only sound on the ground. So it's negligence all the way, And
that's the scariest thing to me.
Yeah. So 2 F-16 fighter aircrafts, after not being able to make contact with them, just went by and said that they reported that there were passengers wearing oxygen masks in the windows. And at 11:49, flight attendant Andreas Pradramo entered the cockpit and sat down in the captain's seat, having remained conscious by using portable oxygen supply. He had only been able to enter now due to the door having a code. He held a UK commercial pilot license but was not qualified to fly the 737. Crash investigators concluded that his experience was insufficient for him to gain control of the aircraft under the circumstances. He waved at the F-16s briefly, but almost as soon as he entered the cockpit, the left engine failed due to loss of fuel. The plane left the holding pattern and started to descend. 10 minutes after the loss of power from the left engine, the right engine failed. Just before 12:04, it crashed.
So wait, what? This guy...
So he was a flight attendant that remained... Yeah. He remained conscious through using, I guess they had some portable gas.
Dang, bro. Yeah. He almost was the hero.
Yeah, and he was a pilot, but not for that type of plane. Sucks, man. And then this was the next one.
And that's,
Yeah.
That just is to remind us that it's not always like the movies.
Dude, this one could be...
but good for him for, being calm enough to get in there. First of all, he got the oxygen, the portable thing. Then I'm going to go in here. All right, I'm going to try to, land the plane.
Yeah.
Or do something, but...
Okay, so check this out. We're almost done here. This is one more this one's going to make you so sad, dude. So Eastern Airlines Flight 401 was a regularly scheduled flight from John F. Kennedy International Airport in Queens, New York to Miami International Airport in Miami. On the day of the crash, Flight 401 was operated using a Lockheed L1011-1 TriStar. which had been delivered to the airlines on August 18th, 1972. The aircraft was fleet number 310. It doesn't matter. It's just the type of plane that it was, basically. So it departed JFK Airport on Friday, December 29th, 1972 at 9:20 Eastern Time with 163 passengers and 13 crew members on board. The flight was routine until 11:32 when the plane began its approach into Miami International Airport. After lowering the gear, First Officer Stockstill noticed that the landing gear indicator, a green light identifying that the nose gear is properly locked in the down position, had not illuminated. This was later discovered to be due to a burned out light bulb. The landing gear could have been manually lowered nonetheless. The pilot cycled the landing gear but still failed to get the confirmation light. Loft, who was working the radio during the time of the flight, told the tower that they would discontinue their approach to the airport and requested to enter a holding pattern. The approach controller cleared the flight to climb to 2,000 feet and then hold west over the Everglades. The cockpit crew removed the light assembly, and the second officer, Repo, was dispatched to the avionics bay beneath the flight deck to confirm via a small porthole if the landing gear was indeed down. 50 seconds after reaching their assigned altitude, Captain Loft instructed the first officer Stockstill to put the L1011 on autopilot. For the next 80 seconds, the plane maintained level flight, then dropped 100 feet, and then again flew level for 2 more minutes, after which it began a gradual descent that could not be perceived by the crew. In the next 70 seconds, the plane lost almost 250 feet, but this was enough to trigger the altitude warning C-Corps chime located under the engineer's workstation. The engineer repro had gone below, and no indication was heard by the pilot's voices recorded on the CVR that they heard the chime. In another 50 seconds, the plane was at half its assigned altitude. As Stockstill started another turn onto 180, he noticed the discrepancy. The following conversation was recovered from the flight voice recorder later. Stockstill: we did something to the altitude. Loft: what? We're still at 2,000 feet, right? Loft: hey, what's happening here? Less than 10 seconds after the exchange, the jetliner crashed. Cockpit microphone, sound a click, and then initial impact. And so basically, they had went to try and figure out why the light wasn't coming on, and they thought that they had put the plane on autopilot, and they actually hadn't, and so it was just slowly falling the entire time. So this one, luckily though, I don't think that they lost everybody on board. I think they lost, so 75 people survived the crash out of the 163 passengers.
What did they crash into? Water or?
Just the Everglades.
Oh.
So just, you know, the rainforest pretty much. How bizarre, dude.
Dude, that's such bullcrap.
Yeah, that's rough, man.
Oh, dude, I don't want to fly ever.
Yeah.
Ever. I already don't like flying.
So,
I don't need to hear about how a light bulb killed everyone or most of everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. Let's see what this one was real quick. I want to say that this one was the same exact type of thing potentially, but I don't think I got to look into this one quite as much. But yeah, dude. So best flight MH370, and I actually think that I didn't mention this whenever we were going through it earlier, but that Indonesian flight had not. It had been one of the planes that had not been flying. It was its first. It was actually its first flight since COVID. So that Indonesian plane that crashed the other day had not been flying for 9 months and had gone through the proper inspection to be able to fly, which sucks, man.
Yeah, it's
Wouldn't be the situation if it was in the U.S., dude. They are flying them things over here like nothing ever happened. And I'm not saying that as a good thing. I'm saying that as a pretty bizarre thing. So
yeah, people still fly.
yeah, I mean, I've flown 3 or 4 times this year, and only one of them, which was, I think in June, was there like open seating and what I would consider like proper social distancing.
Dude,
The rest of them, they just
sign
packed
me
us in
up,
there.
you know, put me on a hang glider and slingshot me across the country, you know,
For what?
to travel.
Just whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Instead
feel
of
ya.
getting on one of these death traps, I'd rather just, I'd
Yeah.
rather just do this, and then I get in my hang glider, and then the thing just.
I've heard that the way that the air filters in a plane actually is not as dangerous, makes it not as dangerous as you think it would be with like viral, whatever. I want to say that it actually filters, like the way that the air runs is down.
Yeah.
So, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I mean, every time we get on the plane, you always see the coming out of the
Yeah.
top of the. Dude,
Sure.
before COVID ever happened, I would watch, like, whenever we would go to Kenya, once you get over into, I guess, parts of Europe, and then once you're in Africa, like, the people straight up just walk down the aisles with, like, cans, and they're just like, shh, across all the seats, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty weird, dude. Well, yeah, man. So hopefully they figure out what happened, what exactly happened to this thing, and shout out to MH370, dude, heading out there in a secret military base somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. So next week, we'll be back like normal. So anything else you want to hit before we head out?
I think I'm good.
Well, cool. So if you want to follow us on social media, you can do that. I am on Twitter at TBATQuinn.
Mine is at TVATSKINERICK. You can follow me there. I will not be posting because Twitter has denied my access to my account.
Yeah.
For hate speech.
Yeah. For hate
No, I'm
speech.
just kidding.
Oh, okay. We gotta try and figure out.
I don't have the login information. They forgot it, and they won't send me a recovery thing. So.
All right, dude. Well, let's get out of here. Thank y'all again for watching, and we will see y'all next week.